Hi, I'm Reggie Turner. I'm here with Terrence Moore and Jim Miller. The Flip Side starts right now. Welcome to the show. Today we have a special guest with us, a young author in the house, and Athighenwi Menang. I guess it was close enough because you waved. Welcome to the show. So, you wrote a book called Art Man. And before we get into your book, tell us a little bit about you. You are 12 years old.
Mm-hmm.
And what school do you attend?
Greenbrier Elementary.
Do you have other siblings?
6.
6.
Mm-hmm.
Awesome. So when did you really develop your interest in writing?
In first grade, I would write little stories, like short stories, and then I'd bring them to my class and then read them. One story was called Brushman, though I'm not really planning to make any of my stories into actual books.
Excellent.
And did we say what grade are you in?
5th grade.
5th grade. Did we say that already?
We did not say that.
Okay.
Terrence.
If you don't mind here, this book is amazing, and when I was your age, I was far from able to create such such a amazing piece of work here, and also the illustration. Talk about your illustrations. If you get a chance to see the book or you go to pick one up, there are a lot of amazing illustration. What did you do some of these drawings?
Well, I did all the drawings, and then a professional artist took them and improved them.
Okay. All right. So not only are you an illustrator and a writer, you're a double threat. That's amazing. Makes me feel lazy.
So what was the inspiration to write a book? I mean, 'cause I bet the other 5th graders in your class are probably not writing books at this point. So what was your inspiration? Why did you want to do this?
Okay, so my art teacher, Miss Coates, she had us do this thing where we had to write we had to make a fake, a made up superhero, and I made art, and that's how I came up with Art Man. And when I had done Art Man, I had only come up with one villain, Dr. Eraser. So I hadn't really thought through the rest of the villains like Grey Granny and Blackbeard. And after finishing drawing Art Man, I had drawn him in 2 versions, a pencil and a human. I had just done the human version and did the human version for all the other people in Art City. And when I was done with a drawing of Art Man once, I was like, hey, I should write a book about this. So I decided to add a title to it, and I named it Art Man. So
Nice.
Yeah.
So I know you have your dad here. Tell me how your family. Tell me about how your family helped you or encouraged you to do this work.
Well, my dad, when he found out I was writing a book, he was like, hey, I should get it published. So I decided, why not?
Okay, excellent. Reggie?
So this project of writing Art Man, from when you came up with the art concept to writing it, how long of a process was that for you?
How long did it take? Days, weeks, months?
I think it took 3 years.
Wow.
Because I started in 3rd grade, and then it got published in 4th grade probably then. And then after that, and now it's famous in 5th grade.
It's famous. I bet it is. No
5th
doubt
grade
about
fame.
that.
You had a book signing just last week, I believe, right at your school.
Monday.
Monday?
Yep.
Wow. And if you just don't mind, it says, in this suspense-filled first book of the Art Man series, Tom Tenzin discovers that he has a special calling. With his granddad, Master Art, helping as a mentor both in person and in Tom's dreams, Tom is able to harness his inner gifts to protect his hometown, Art City, and a country of canvas from being totally destroyed by an evil genius, Dr. Eraser, and his evil friends, Grey Granny and Blackbeard. it looks like you found your calling at a very early age. And to find your purpose and your calling at an early age is an amazing gift. And to have a supportive school and family to be there for you is amazing as well. How are your siblings feeling about all your newfound author fame?
Well, not not to make them feel guilty, but well, not to make my mom feel guilty, but she's been asking for my money a few times.
I'm sure she just wants you to save it.
My dad won't let me use it until after it gets to $1 million.
Okay. All right.
Smart
well,
investment.
That's a smart guy, clearly. So, what was the hardest part about doing this? Tell us about how when you reached a point you said, "Wow, this is hard. I don't want to do this anymore." Or did you reach that point?
Well, so first, when I had made the book, I had done it on paper. I had done it in a notebook. And so I drew the pictures and wrote the story on a notebook. And then my brother kind of told me about Book Creator. And then he said I should do my book there. And I was like, okay. And then I just noticed that I had to go through my entire book again and do the story right through there. Mm-hmm. And well, that was pretty hard because I was already halfway through the story. So, yeah.
No, that's a great experience because you started by something pen and paper, and then you took it through technology. And a lot of young kids your age don't do that first step anymore, right?
No kidding.
And so that was a great experience for you. You'll probably value that sometime in your life as you get older, that you had that experience to put pen to paper. So congratulations.
So you say this is the first of perhaps more than one book in this series?
There's another book coming.
Oh, there is? And are you
Yep.
working on that now?
No, I'm working on a different book right now.
Oh.
It's called Peeping Banana. Should I give a what's it called again? It's on the
summary?
back of the
Yeah,
summary.
sure.
Yeah. Sorry, I have a bad memory.
No, go ahead.
No problem.
Okay, so should I give a summary?
Sure.
Okay, so it's about two people, and one's a peanut butter sandwich, and then another's a banana. And coincidentally they come on a walk and then bump into each other, and suddenly they have this 1 hour probably conversation about what they like, their favorites, and then find out that they have a lot in common. But they also find out that when the two of them get home, back to their homes, they find out that they can't be friends because they're different. So they work out a plan to unite their two towns, their two worlds.
Doesn't that speak true?
Wow. I got chills on that one. Wow.
So how can all of our viewers purchase your book?
Well, you can get it through Amazon, Spears Media, or just get it signed by the author on AfricanMe.com.
Well, I will have to coordinate with you and your dad because I definitely would love a signed autographed copy from you. That would be awesome.
I'm also gonna have a few more book signings. I suggested I have one at a arts camp, Archer Bean Arts Camp. I had it's actually a church, but it does arts camps and story making camps and stuff like that. It had that wood sculpturing camp once. So yeah, I got that idea because I go to Boy Scouts, and one of the scouts in my troop had their Eagle Scout thing. So we had a reception for it.
So talk to me about what encouragement, if any, you got from your teachers at school.
Well, my art teacher was technically encouraging me because, she's the one who gave me the idea.
Mm-hmm. Was she surprised when this came out?
Yeah.
I bet she was. And tell me about school. How has your life changed at all at school? Do you have
Well, okay, so we have this art room in the school where our teacher sends us to go wash our hands, and I was passing by there once, and I think it was the kindergartners that was in that class, and the kindergartners were in the same class, were in the class while us fifth graders were washing our hands there, and one of them had noticed I was there, so they were like, hi, and then the rest of the kindergartners started saying hi too. So I'm technically a pretty famous role model amongst the third graders and the pre-Kers and all the other younger grades.
Well,
Pretty awesome.
next book notwithstanding, I'd be willing to bet we're going to hear more from you as you grow up, and I think that's a great thing. So thank you and congratulations on this.
Well, one more question for me. As a financial advisor, I am very interested to know, how soon is it your goal to become a millionaire?
Well, my actual goal is to build an art school with the money I have, and then after that, I'm probably just going to do a few other random things, like send art supplies to different countries that doesn't have that kind of material. And then I'm probably going to have Zoom. I'm probably going to send, like, one of the supplies I'm going to send in the supplies is, laptops and iPads, so that they could connect with me all the way over here, so that they could learn how to draw and write and make books too.
A role model, a philanthropist, an illustrator, an author. Philanthropist is someone who gives back to the communities and gives back to others. And again, it's a great heart. That's a testament to your parents and your family. It's amazing to hear that in you. So congratulations, and I look forward to what you do with this world as you get older.
You got to promise and come back on for your next book.
Okay.
Will you do that? Excellent.
Okay.
All right, well, I want to make sure our audience sees this. Thank you for joining us. We definitely going to have you back. So if anyone would like to purchase his book, obviously this can be purchased on Amazon, and be on the lookout on social media for any other book signings that we receive information for. We will share that information as well. Well, it was awesome having you tonight. Thank you, Dad, for all you do, because I know the seeds that parents plant can go a long way in their children, because I'm a testament to that in my own life. So we will be right back after the break. Welcome back to the show. Maryland courts throws out Maryland's congressional map.
Yeah.
Jim, what say you?
So I guess I'm surprised at some level, but I'm not surprised. I mean, when this thing, what did it get, an F on the bipartisan group that looked at it in terms of congressional districting? Yeah, it's not good. Now the question is, what's next? I mean, they're talking about the fact that it had support. I'm not sure I saw it having a lot of support, other than, obviously
The Democrats.
the
right?
Democratic delegation supported it. The reality we live right in the middle of the district that is at issue here. This is largely about our district, so this has direct impact on us. It'll be interesting to see how this goes out. I guess what I wasn't able to understand or comprehend is the whole notion of the fact that it may imperil the paid family leave bill. Did anyone, I saw that in the article that I read on Maryland Reporter, and I'm not sure that I understand the connection there.
I wasn't able to dig that far in the weeds on the article. I do know, as you're speaking about locally, though, the Herald Mail article says that it's affecting about 56,000 voters that are in limbo right now. And obviously this is affecting our delegate, our state senator, and then also our congressional House of Representatives as well. Barry Jackson spoke about this, and he felt that from the congressional standpoint, this, no matter which way it goes, is really not going to change anything, especially as long as Montgomery County is included in regards to that from a congressional standpoint. However, it seems like the House of Delegates, that's kind of where there could be changes, because if there's, one district, one representative, then it could get split into three,
Yes,
possibly,
it could.
where there will be issue. Terrence, what say you?
I think it's a little exhaustion at this time about this issue that we can't get it right. It's kind of like, go to your room and do it again. Come back, nope, not good enough. Go to your room and do it again. And I want to speak just from the constituents at large, right? I think this is well over a lot of people's heads. When we're speaking about this, they don't understand what the true impact is. They don't understand how it's really impacting who represents them and how they can drive policy to impact their lives, their families, their jobs, and everything. And I think it's such a huge issue that is really not being focused on a level where you're educating the average constituent. I think that a lot of people are just kind of exhausted by the mapping and going back and forth, and how do I influence it? Who do I talk to? How do I get engaged? I just feel like you're at the mercy of whatever's happening.
Yeah.
So I think there's a better way. We should be really focused on doing some education around what this is and how it's truly going to impact the common person who gets up day in and day out and who doesn't really understand some of the high level political information and how it impacts them as well. And I think some of our representatives needs to kind of bring that back and get into some of these layman's terms and really get people to back it as a whole, instead of the fighting being really amongst the representation.
Go ahead.
Here's the thing. This is such a partisan issue, and it's funny from this perspective. In North Carolina, Ohio, and Pennsylvania, those maps are gerrymandered towards the Republicans.
Absolutely.
Right? And in those states, Republicans would like to limit the court's ability to change maps by the state. But here, we're applauding the courts for being able to change the maps that are decided by the legislature. It's like there's not a coherent message. It's based on territory, right?
Well,
and who has the advantage, and each team is trying to keep their advantage.
Well, that's exactly right. And at what level is politics not about that? I mean, it becomes, I'm not sure if it's any better at the local level or it's just not as publicized. But I mean, that's what it's about, right? I mean, whether you're,
it's not a genuine concern for the voters.
Well, it should be. It's not.
I like to say like this is like playing a game of Risk, but when the bell goes off, whoever has the most territory gets lunch, right?
That's exactly right.
That's where it is right now. So everybody's fighting for as much territory and representation so they can make decisions. And I think that's huge to everybody, right? That really impacts everybody, how much representation. And we already have that great divide between the Republicans and the Democrats.
Well, and if you look at it, if you want to know the impact, look at when the 6th District congressman changed from Republican to Democrat. Roscoe Bartlett was a fixture, so to speak, in the Congress. And when did he get ousted? Same time the maps changed.
And the thing is, bringing it back local, this is causing a lot of problems. One of the things that Barry said in the Herald Mail article is that they're in limbo, and they're going to have to roll with the punches however they may be, and they're going to have to adjust. Once they found out in April, they're going to have to adjust and get everything ready for a June primary season.
Yeah. Didn't they move it now to July? Didn't it get pushed even further?
I believe it went from June to July in regards to that. But either way, so they're in this crunch of dealing with whatever's thrown at them on that front. And then on another front is they already had spoke about they're lacking many election judges.
Yeah.
So, this is putting a strain on the system and all of our communities.
We have a lot more people running for office as well.
Yes.
Because the filing date has also moved out from a February date where it originally came into 2022, and now we're looking at a filing date that's going to be in mid-April. So, which you've seen more candidates come into the fold over the last couple of weeks as well. And what they have come into the fold, if we didn't have that date moved from February. So it has a kind of a domino effect even in our elections and how they're going to look. And even short, now after the primaries in July, you're full steam ahead into November, right? There's right through the summer times where a lot of that door knocking and a lot of that engagement with community usually happens in this
Right.
region. is going to really be condensed now until August, and kids are back in school in September.
And if you look at it, I mean, from a number standpoint, you know, county commissioners, that is a packed race with over 10 candidates. You know, there is candidates for our to-be delegate, you know, not only on the Democratic side, Delegate Cham has a challenger now
Yes.
on the Republican side. And now Senator Corderman has a challenger on the Democratic side. So, you know, the field is filling up, but, you know, there's a lot of unknown folks that are vying for these positions, so it's going to be interesting to see how that's going to shake out.
So what's the next step in this lawsuit? This ruling was handed down by Anne Arundel County Senior Judge Lynn Battaglia. Arguably, Anne Arundel was probably more right-leaning than left-leaning.
No.
Can we agree on that? So, you know, I imagine the next one is a court, whatever the next higher court is, maybe in Baltimore. How's that one going to go? I mean, is this going to go anywhere?
Well, I think this needs to be answered by the 30th.
Yes.
Yes.
So they have to kind of come back to the table. I'm sure they'll shuffle a little bit and push it up against the wall again, right? To see what sticks.
Again, and pardon the analogies, but it's kind of the same thing. Is get your homework done, and you can't do it right. You can't go outside, and you keep going back trying to do it, and the sun's going down, and before you know it, time is going to be past, and we're going to be right back to where we started, and all this whole exercise is for naught, right?
Well, yeah.
Like
Many before it, and many to come, both nationally, statewide, county, and city. You name the jurisdiction.
I just laugh at the fact that, you know, here Republicans call this a historic victory in the courts, when states that are not very far away from us are doing the exact opposite. Like, it's just a really weird circumstance.
Well, and it's also important to note that this is the first time in Maryland's history that we have successfully had this issue adjudicated.
Yeah.
So,
From that standpoint, it is historic.
And there was 2 other states that the judges did it in favor of the Democrats. So it's happening nationwide. So also we got to know that this isn't just something that's unique to our state as well.
well, and you know, putting my fairness hat on, I'm glad it's happening for the Democrats as well as the Republicans. I mean, if we truly want to fix this, it shouldn't matter what side of the political aisle you're on. The map should be drawn fairly. And what fairly is the term that gives us some trouble. What is that? What does that mean? Is that geographically from north to south, or east to west, or whatever the case may be? I mean, what is the fair way to do it?
And fair is a subjective word.
Well, that's
why.
exactly right.
And that's what we're basing this on. It's subjectivity of who's dictating whether or not it's fair.
Right.
And
But I think, you know, in Maryland's case, and I don't know about some of the other states and their cases, in Maryland's case, if you look at a congressional district that spans, 3 at least counties, maybe more, Washington, Frederick, Allegheny? Yeah. I mean, come on. That doesn't make sense to me. Because we have geographic boundaries, whether it's north to south, east to west, whatever the case may be, that's got to play a part in my view.
I agree. It's about population, though.
Well,
you know, that's what people are driving towards, population, because, you know, you can have the most land there is in your county, but if it's not developed, it really doesn't benefit you.
But if you, but look how it goes through Frederick. It cuts off a little tiny slice of Frederick down at the bottom, and then it goes into another county. It goes into Montgomery County. What?
Look how we annexed Washington County. We can't, drawing those lines, unless there's a hard rule that's in place on how it's going to happen, it's always going to be in a way of who's going to benefit from moving it left or right.
Well, that's exactly right. Well, maybe maybe by the next election cycle we'll be in the state of West Virginia and we won't be part of Maryland anymore.
Not likely, but
That issue died rather quickly.
Oh boy, mum's the word. They wanted to put that genie back in the bottle real quick.
Very quickly. So, you know, next week we may have more information in regards to kind of where this is headed, because there's the 30th deadline, and we'll see where that goes. Well, we'll hold it there. and we'll be right back after the break.
All right.
Welcome back to the show. Gentlemen, Governor Hogan endorses Kelly Schultz to continue the legacy as next governor. Are we surprised?
Yeah, I'm not surprised. And, you know, I don't know. It's an interesting intellectual exercise for me as to why he chose not to endorse the candidate that former President Trump was endorsing. Is that another way to distance himself from former President Trump, or is that, does he really think Secretary Schultz will do a better job? I personally think Secretary Schultz will do a better job.
Well, why would he not endorse his own employee?
Well, I agree with that. I'm not arguing that point, but it is another way to separate himself from President Trump. And I think, you know, and I have claimed this for some period of time now, post-election, that, you know, all this to-do that people are making about Trump, he's done.
Yeah.
He's not coming back, you know, and we're just wasting column inches on writing stories about him. He's finished.
It's still an interest story where people gravitate towards that story.
I
so.
don't. And not that I'm telling you should be like me, but man, get a life. He's done. Cancel Christmas.
No, but let me ask you this from this perspective, Terrence. Schultz being a continuation of Hogan. From any reasonable perspective, Governor Hogan has been very generous to Western Maryland.
Yes.
Could we say? So Schultz potentially could be a continuation of that. She's
Where's
from
Frederick? Yes.
She knows the lay of the land very
Right.
well. She spent a great deal of time here. She has her affinities to Hagerstown and
She
has
does.
been here quite a bit. How do you see it?
I agree. I had the pleasure right after she stepped down from her position. She actually came out, and she didn't come out because we're at COVID at that time, but she did a live Zoom with Leadership Washington County, which that's pretty unique, right? You step down, you announce that you're running for governor, and the next day you're meeting with Leadership Washington County, and she spoke favorably of a lot of things that we've seen already happen since that conversation in January. One being the metro coming into Western Maryland as well. That was a great plug that she made in a conversation. I asked her because I said, why are we talking about manufacturing coming out here in Western Maryland when it has caused such an issue in the past? Don't we have some diversity? How do we diversify what kind of job market we're bringing out here? And she spoke to how high tech some of these new plants and locations will be when they come out here and bring tech jobs. So we're not going to the old manufacturing ways, but they also will bring high paying tech jobs. And I say that to say she's already been engaged. Honestly, I think she's already got the baton in one hand ready to run already.
I think you're right. I mean, what was her former job? Business, right? For the state.
Yep. I think she's great for momentum. If I had a choice to kind of look at what the pros that she brings to it, she brings that momentum. What Governor Hogan has laid out over his terms is a great opportunity for somebody not to come in and try to shake everything up, but also pick up some of that momentum and drive it forward. Now, as far as former President Trump and his endorsement of Cox, who has also been outright on the attack of Governor Hogan, doesn't make for a strong candidate, and no big surprise why he wouldn't endorse Cox. That's right.
Okay, that's probably true.
So let me float this trial balloon at you. So after Schultz destroys Cox in the primary,
Right.
right?
Which we all expect her to do, right? Okay.
Do the Hogan as a Rhino crowd, do they get on board and support Schultz, or do they sit that out?
Well, they may sit it out, and if they do, I find that problematic.
Which means
But
that
you know
she
what?
wouldn't have much of a chance of winning if they sit it out.
No, I can't see him sitting out. It's still the Democrats, right? it's still the Democrats.
Yeah, and let's face it, if you're R, you hate D's,
Exactly.
and if you're D's, you hate R's.
There you go. Yeah, absolutely, absolutely.
And it's a midterm. They don't sit out midterms, right? It's the Democrats that sit out the midterms.
And the rally cry for the last 2 years has already been, we're taking it back in the midterms. We're taking it back. So there's already been marching orders for the Republican Party to come out, vote, and whoever's got an R next to their name, we're putting back in office. Which is sad to say about the Democrats, who once again, my personal opinion, this passive approach of just we're just going to win because we're good people idea, which it doesn't fathom to me that you're not out front, you're not being as aggressive, not building on that momentum, and kind of sitting still. I think you're giving away. You're giving the House away completely. I think honestly, I agree with what's being said out there about a lot of pundits. It's going to be a runaway, and it's going to be a shift back over to the Republican Party.
But the thing is, the state of Maryland could be like the anomaly, right? The rest of the country could go Republicans, but the way that things sit from a Democratic standpoint, because again, Schultz did dance the Trump line for quite a while too.
But not as publicly.
Not as publicly, but a crafty Democrat could hang that around her neck.
It could, yeah.
If you have the right one.
But
there.
I think the people that you are hearing, I think the reason it's still getting press is because it sells and it angers people, or it either makes them really happy or really mad. I'm on the really mad side because I just want him to go away. I think people at the opposite end of the continuum. I think the majority, and this is a guess, this is not a factual statistic, I think the majority don't care. They're done with him, and they don't want to hear about him one way or the other.
But for entertainment purposes, I wonder, when Schultz becomes the Republican nominee, what does Trump do?
Yeah. Who cares?
We do.
He's going to open up his own social media
We're
platform.
in the entertainment business.
I think as much as you want him to go away, he's not. He's not.
That's because we're not allowing him to. We keep putting his name in the news.
No, he's reality TV. Is what he was before president, during his presidency. He's going to be after his
And you know what?
presidency.
And it worked because everybody was looking back to his TV show, and they liked the character. I don't think the majority of people, at least the majority of people that I talked to, Republican or Democrat, Democrats never liked him. I don't think the majority of Republicans that I talked to like him at this point.
I don't disagree. I don't disagree. But I believe there's a large population of those people that still pump their fists and follow him blindly.
They do,
that
but
he
what
can rile
percentage?
up.
Yeah, there are people that still follow, they're Nazis and KKK and all those other goofy things, and I'm not comparing Donald Trump to Adolf Hitler or anyone else, but my point is there are some subsection of people that find connections with all sorts of crazy people and groups.
Well, if we would have took the show to the Hagerstown Speedway over the past 2 weeks, we probably would have our answer.
Well, that's true.
That's it. And the reason why we're talking decades later that there still are Nazis and KKK, because those people hang with that, and they're the ones that pass that stuff down through generations. Right. And unfortunately, that's what's going to happen. So he's always going to have a fan base. I'm not saying it's going to be the majority. I'm just saying it's going to be that noisy group that can be reckless at times, that can be loud, and the squeaky wheel sometimes gets the oil.
Well, and that's where we need to draw the line. That's where we need to let him fold up like a cheap chair. I remember there was national media attention. This was 15 years ago probably. There was a KKK rally down in South County or somewhere around there in Washington County. Mm-hmm. And everybody was, anticipating this big thing. There were like 4 people that showed up. And I'm like, okay, that's exactly what needs to happen. People need to understand. People need to see this for the joke that it is, right? Well, it's not a joke, but it's sad. But it's not supported.
I agree.
So, and I don't think Trump is. And again, I'm not making a comparison there. I want to be clear about that.
Well, I just think from a Washington County perspective, the average voter, if you've liked what Hogan has done in regards to investment here, you would be encouraged if she becomes a nominee.
I think
right?
you would. But I don't think she's going to be, I don't think she's going to parrot every idea that she heard from Larry Hogan over the next 4 or 8 years.
No. She wants to put her own stamp on it.
I think she is her own person, and
yes.
I think she has some good things to say, at least from what I've heard. And I'm not saying that there's not good candidates on the other side. This is specific about Kelly Scholes. But I think she did well in her secretary position. I think that she has a lot of good ideas, and I think she has a lot of good experience.
There's a benefit to being the Aaron Rodgers, right? You sit behind a Brett Favre long enough, you know what you can do, what you shouldn't do, what you should push forward, what you would change right away, and you can learn from those errors and be protected in that and be close enough to kind of learn and be mentored as well. And there's a benefit to that. I think that's a benefit that she's bringing in to this race that most people can't bring in.
And isn't it a possibility? You know, we talk about Larry Hogan as a rhino, and I'm sure there are dinos on the other side. Don't we need one or two more of those? Don't we need people that...
It depends on which room you're in.
Well, okay, I get that. But again, the majority of the people that and the majority of people in this community that I talk to over the years, most of them are not hard right or hard left. Most of them are largely in the center third, right? And that's where we spend. The only problem is the media only gives the microphone to those that are over here and those that are over there.
Right.
If you're MSNBC, you're going to hear this guy. If you're Fox News, you're going to hear this guy. And everybody else in the middle isn't going to get their air.
And you can see it already. That's why like Tucker Carlson is now being pushed so he can run in the next couple of years. It's media driven. Our politics and our democracy has fallen to the wayside of media and entertainment, period. It's unfortunate. We're not educating voters. We're entertaining voters. We're not campaigning on issues. We're running popularity contests.
We are.
And as long as that continues to be the trend, we're not going to always get the most qualified people in position to lead us.
Well, this is going to be, there's a crowded field. There's nearly a dozen Democratic candidates.
There's
three
like four
other, four Republicans. There's a Libertarian and an Independent. So it's going to be a crowded field.
It's going to weed itself out soon, especially on the Democratic side, because many of them can't raise money.
Does anybody think that we should be talking about, as a state and as a nation, open primaries?
Absolutely.
Yeah, I do too.
Absolutely.
Let's do that.
That takes away that mutes some of the power of the parties,
Well,
the big parties.
I think the power of the parties needs muted at some
I
level.
agree. I agree. Preach it to the choir.
All right, well, I guess you guys are going to bring that forward as a ballot initiative then? Is that what we're doing?
I think that should be our goal moving forward.
All right, well, we'll leave that there.
All right.
We'll be back with more after the break. Welcome to Fast Five. First topic, gentlemen. Biden's job approval rates fall to lowest levels of his presidency amid war and inflation.
Yeah. So, first of all, let me state for the record that I don't believe that the President of the United States, whether Democrat or Republican, has total controls over what wars break out or what the economy does. I think they have some control over it, and we've built the system to allow them to have some control over it. But to hang the economy and Russia, I mean, have we not known for the last 10 plus years that Russia was going to go after Ukraine? I mean, we've been talking about that for a dozen years now.
Well, Mitt Romney told us, right? And Obama made a joke of it.
Yeah.
But it actually came true.
Exactly. So my point is this. I'm not willing to hang those exclusively around Joe Biden's neck. I think that I believe that some of his, I hate to say this, I worry about his health. And I think if I were to give him a low approval rating, it would be based on that. And we see some gaffes, like this man cannot remain in office. Is that a true statement? Maybe. Should he remain in office? Maybe not. But that's not something that President Biden should have said on national TV in my view, at least.
But this is a midterm election, right? And normally the party that's in power takes a whipping.
They do.
Right?
But we're also, there is no time that's not a presidential election anymore. We start these politicians start gathering bundlers 2 days after the last election's
Yes.
over to make money, right? And yes, Americans have short memories, but they're not all that short. And the economy and the inflation factor and the gas prices and all of that is not going the right way. The whole notion of the
And they're not going to, and that's not going to change anytime soon.
and by the way, we are, and I saw 3 or 4 articles here in the last couple of weeks that talked about a recession, an impending recession. How bad is it going to be? Is it going to be light? Is it going to be another 2008? Is the housing market going to take a dump? We don't know.
Well, technically, we saw a recession in 2020, except it was a V, right?
Right.
As soon as the pandemic hit, we saw a recession and it bounced right back up.
Right.
Yeah.
The biggest thing, though, is inflation was moving even before it got to the extremes of where it was now.
Right.
It was moving under the Trump administration.
It was.
However, what people that will say that were supportive of Trump was like, look at the stock market.
Yeah.
Right. That was kind of always the antidote. Look at. Remember our good buddy Henry? He would say, look at my Tesla stock.
Right.
Right. My Tesla's doing great.
But now the bond market, that was one of the articles that I read, what's going on there, and I don't understand any of that, you would, suggests that we might be in looking towards a recession. And let's face it, the economy is cyclical. It's going to happen. It's not a question of if, it's a question
when.
of when.
Right.
Yeah, and his approval ratings, just kind of plugged there, is he doesn't care, all right?
He's a one-term
He's a
president.
one-term president. That was his job. He's a kamikaze president. He's coming in, he's doing what he needs to do, and he's passing it on to the vice president. I thought it since day one. It just looks like it. Talk to his health. I don't think he had a plan to go in there for multiple terms. I really don't think I don't believe he did. I believe they thought he was in the best position to make a change of the guards. They put him in there because of his tenure, and they got him in position. Also, he has made some big mistakes. Look what happened to his pullout in the Middle East. That wasn't a pretty sight for national television for us to see what happened there as well. Though it was necessary, it was done poorly and executed poorly. Also, he
And
was
communicated poorly.
And communicated poorly. He was also a president who came in, one of the first presidents that I know of, who was challenged almost a year into his presidency if he was even the rightful president. And people truly believe that. And people still say that stuff today.
Yeah, but that's a minority. That is the Barack Obama is not born in America crowd, right?
I think it's more extreme than that because it took an insurrection on our capital. Nobody.
But that wasn't a year in. That happened.
Right after. But I'm saying even after that, it was still, the rhetoric was still happening behind it. So he came in, he didn't come in with much fanfare, what I'm saying.
No, I get that. But here's the problem. You know, granted, I would agree with you, Reggie, that the incumbent party in the presidency usually takes a beating in the midterms, right? But guess what else? His approval ratings is going to make that worse, in my view.
Oh, absolutely, it's going to make it worse. And here's the thing. The inflation is not just going to disappear, right? We're going to be in this period of inflation for a while. And it doesn't matter if you're a D or an R. Like, every time you're at the gas pump, you're reminded in regards to where you are.
Right. And
you're
people
gonna-
are
and you-
sticking stickers on the gas pump.
Yeah.
Thank
So
you, Joe.
Whoever's in power is going to suffer a heavy penalty because of it, regardless of whether it's all their fault or not. They're in power and they're going to suffer.
Right. The buck stops here.
I agree. And unfortunately, as a nation, we're becoming, if we don't get hit with the biggest crisis, we don't make change. And these oil prices are maybe going to be a little bit more motivated for us to be more environmentally friendly, you know, as far as not finding ourselves back here over and over again. And unfortunately, for our healthcare, it took a pandemic. Hopefully, it doesn't take some kind of war for us to realize that our dependency on foreign oil is getting us in trouble over and over again.
All right, well, let's keep this thing moving because we could stay on this topic for quite a while. So Governor Hogan and the Maryland legislature reached a deal that cutting tax for seniors.
Okay.
Smart move.
Yep.
Be the next Florida. Come, we'll take your seniors. I think it's a great move for the location of where the state of Maryland is actually located.
Well, and I think to that point, we'll take your seniors. This is not about collecting the 1.86 billion, I think it was. It's not about, in my view, it's not about collecting that from others that live in Maryland. It's about attracting more people to Maryland,
Yes.
attracting more seniors, because they have
Wealth.
disposable income, they have wealth. Exactly.
Right now, the wealth is concentrated amongst the millennials and the baby boomers. Why not get those baby boomers who, when they move next, will probably not move again, right? So this will be the last place they possibly move to, and be able to bring that wealth into your state. I think it's a great strategic move.
Well, you know, as a financial advisor, I see it all the time. You know, if obviously we lose a lot of our population that goes south in retirement, but we lose our population in West Virginia and PA as well. So this is an opportunity to kind of retain that population for those that like being here.
Yeah.
You know, the ones that want to go south, they're going to go south, right? That particular individual is not going to change based off of that.
No, but there are people in Pennsylvania and West Virginia and other states that are happy in the Mid-Atlantic area
Yes.
that will come to Maryland because of all of the other things that we offer.
And what I also see is that folks don't wait till to retirement to make that change.
No, they don't.
Many times they buy that home in that retirement home in regards to where they're going to be, 5 years in advance, right, in preparation for retirement.
Right.
So to be able to keep some of those revenues here, I just think from this perspective, Hogan is spending the surplus in a way that can set Maryland up for long-term success.
That's exactly right. He is investing the surplus. We have a $7.5 billion surplus, which is unprecedented in this state.
And the thing is that since he is in his last term, his last year, right, it's the time to do it because he doesn't need an immediate win.
No, he doesn't. Well, unless he's going to run for president next year.
Well, he can still tell that story, right, that of what he did in the condition that he left the state in.
Okay, go ahead.
No. I was just going to agree with you. I think it was smart for him to move money because I think we have this mindset. We're even seeing it here locally that you got to buy something big to stimulate the economy. Put a little bit away for a rainy day.
Well, exactly. And he's done that.
Yes.
I mean, this $7.5 billion is across savings accounts in various agencies and departments throughout the
rainy day fund he brought back the rainy day fund and filled that back up.
Yeah, and again, if you parlay this into a presidential run, think about those ads.
They would be great. The only thing is, and this is like a too early call, he still can't make it through a primary. I think he could win a general, but he cannot make it through a primary.
You don't think so?
No, the primaries are extreme.
Well, that's why we need open primaries.
We're going to see about that. Next topic, gentlemen. 19 organizations call on Nancy Pelosi and Kevin McCarthy to support a ban on lawmakers trading stocks. What is taking so long?
I don't know. It's a law in place already. They just tell them, hold them accountable to it. They have an ethics guideline. They're not supposed to be doing this. And we've seen, and there's no hard evidence as of yet, but there was some controversial trading of stock that happened right before the pandemic, knowing things that were going on with these leaders as well. What are you calling on? Just hold people accountable. You did something wrong. Let's stop all these hearings about critical race theory and all this other stuff that we keep tagging people on, and let's focus on manipulation, right? This is theft. This is wrong. So let's hold people accountable. If they're doing something wrong, hold them accountable. If they're not, leave them alone and let them make their money.
One thing, Jim, I'll say is that really since 2008, for the most part, everyone's been winning in the market, right?
Yeah.
I mean, the little man's been winning, the big guy's been, everybody's winning. But if we get into this period of volatility where everyone is not winning, but you still have your Congress folks winning because of the insider information that they have and the way that they can maneuver, I think this will become a big deal. If we stay in a market that levels off and does well, I don't know if you're going to get the traction out of this for folks to point the finger and this going crazy. Terrence is looking at me crazy on that.
Well, I'm on Terrence's side, just so you know, because I think right is right and wrong is wrong, regardless of what's going on in the economy.
we don't move.
You
that
either
way.
trade on inside information or you don't trade on insider information. And if there is a law in place, enforce it.
But we're changing election laws with like little to no evidence of fraud. So when do we start moving as a country based on logic?
Is that a rhetorical question?
You know, this is one of those things. If a tree falls in the forest and no one didn't hear it, didn't make a sound. And somebody
And was Trump or Biden responsible for it?
exactly. Like somebody has to blow the whistle because it's evidence that it's wrong and it's happening,
Yeah.
and it's proof that it's happening. But it's one of those things. If you blow the whistle, the backlash may be critical and may honestly have consequences across our republic to a degree that we probably don't want to see, right? I think this is kind of warning saying, let's be careful, people, because if we start turning on the lights,
But, you know, sunlight,
Is the best disinfectant.
yes, it is.
absolutely. And this is a code of ethics. It's a code of ethics that they take, and they're violating it.
No, don't get me wrong. For the record, I'm with you guys. I just don't know if there's the political will to move this thing forward.
Oh, I don't think
No,
there is.
no,
But
we all agree
there's
that.
not the political will to do open primaries, and there's not the political will to rework campaign finance laws and not allow these, you know,
gerrymandered
PACs,
districts in
yeah,
state after
gerrymandered
state.
yeah, there's very little, but we're great at investigating when somebody puts their tea bag in upside down, right?
Next topic. President Biden made Putin gaffe because he's Irish. So now we're making excuses for why he made a gaffe.
I'm sorry for this. I'm sorry for this topic, and I know there's like 30 seconds we should spend on this. But I laughed out loud when I saw this article on MSN, and this is a former Obama defense secretary who suggests that the reason for the gaffe was because Biden was Irish. What?
I don't understand why. We learned during the Trump presidency you can say whatever and just keep it moving.
Right. Yeah.
I don't think it was a gap. I
Drink
think it was
Clorox.
strategic.
Drink Clorox.
I think it was strategic. He called for an uprising in Russia to take down Putin. That's what he did. And they said, oh, that's not what I meant. Wink. I'm telling you right now, because they said the only way he's going to be removed is all the media that he stopped going into the country gets publicized, and the mothers of those men who are dying and women who are dying in this war rally against him when they find out that this war shouldn't be happening. This is a great way to put in there. Yeah, let's mock the president who just said this. Wait a minute, what did he just tell you to do? I think it was strategic. I think it's his best move yet.
Well, the problem is
Irish or not.
if it is strategic, I will accept your point that it's probably a pretty good move. I'm not as confident that it was strategic, given his history, number one, and number two, his most recent history. Yeah, interesting.
All right, last topic, gentlemen. Hillary Clinton to voice in the woods role in Arkansas. Are we just trying to trigger folks today, talking about Hillary Clinton?
No, I thought it was interesting. You know, I call this a human interest story. I'm not saying this because I'm not trying to say that Hillary Clinton is reduced to being a voiceover in a what is it, Netflix or whatever. I'm not trying to say that. What I'm trying to say is here's a woman who has a lot of prestige. She was former first lady. She was a president, or she was a candidate for the highest office in the land. And I think that suggesting that she's more than just that, I think this is a positive thing.
I think it's a great mailbox check. First of all, she don't even have to perform. She records her voice and then they play it off. She's not even on the stage. It's just a voice that comes from behind the curtain, like the whole time. So she pre-records it and she walks away. Never has to come back, never shows up. The audience is there to see her. They bill her as being part of the show, and she's not even there. Just her voice is being recorded.
And again, and by the way, she's probably getting paid a pretty penny to do it. Right? But that notwithstanding, you know what? If you lose one thing, don't just, I mean, when she lost the election, there were those who argued, and I frankly was probably one of those, that she didn't go away gracefully, right? She was doing our interviews and stuff months after about, you know, she seemed very
jaded,
yeah, about
bitter.
it. This is positive. this is great. And apparently this is not the first, appearance or whatever that she's made. I think it's good. I think it.
You haven't seen my social media feed. Like, that's not how the people, that's not how things like that are perceived. But I get your point.
Okay. I like to have my glass half full.
I'm going to work on that. I'm going to try to get a little better with that. Here's the prediction I'm going to make, gentlemen. Hillary Clinton in the next few years will be doing voiceover work for Mr. Menendez.
There you go.
That'd be
There
nice.
you go.
That'd be nice.
I think he'll be able to pull that off.
All right, take us out, Reggie.
All right. Well, that's all the time that we have for tonight. We hope that you'll like us on Facebook, follow us on Twitter, and send us your comments to feedback@theflipsidetv.com. That is feedback@theflipsidetv.com. But most importantly, we hope you'll join us again next week for another episode of